Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of This Week in Science's podcast broadcast. Oh, yeah. When you come to this show on Wednesdays, you know that we are going to be broadcasting live, talking about science with you, things that we enjoy from the last week, and topics that we think are pretty awesome. And we'd love your help sharing and subscribing and doing all the cool stuff so we end up in the algorithms. I am recording this time. It says end stream in the corner of my window, so I know that we are live right now as opposed to last week. And this stuff's going to get cut out from the podcast, so we're glad you're here for the whole thing. But if you do just want the podcast, make sure you subscribe to that. Are we good to go, Franz?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have some science. Yeah, I just realized, Justin, we're like, is this like Danish mustard day?
It is. It's Nordic mustard time.
I know. It's Nordic mustard time. Look, it's like Blair, she sits up, she's like the blue in the mustard sandwich. That's right. It's blue and mustard time. I don't know. Mustard sandwich time.
We're almost a Swedish flag.
Almost a Swedish black. I don't know what that is.
Flag.
Oh, yeah, but weird. Okay.
Or IKEA. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's start the show. Yeah, let's do this. Are we ready to go in? Not looking at the comments. Everybody's here. Hello, friends. Make sure you share. Let us begin the whole thing in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 977, recorded on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. Oh, I forgot a title there. No, you're supposed to edit this out, Rachel. How to reprogram your brain. Hey, everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will reprogram your brains with bat hearts, baby brains, and bird flu boobs. But first...
Disclaimer. It is possible to discover black holes by tracking the motion of stars. It is possible to prevent an illness with correcting genes that cause it. It is possible to harness the energy of the sun, the wind, and the tides. It is possible to know the past from the past few 100,000 years of current modern human history back through billions of years of evolution. We know so much, have researched, engineered, and invented a world that has gone far beyond the imagination of the humans that came before us. And yet we still have much work to do. More mysteries to uncover, more solutions to design, and more This Week in Science coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We are back again to talk about all the science news that we saw fit to bring to this particular episode of the show. And as you know, there's all sorts of science out there we don't bring, but we do bring the stuff that we think is the most fun to talk about with you. I have stories this week about breastfeeding and bones, better menstrual pads, bacterial battles, and brains. What'd you bring, Justin?
Oh my goodness. I have got black hole time capsules, sciencey cures, ancient theater, and Stone Age plague.
And Blair, what is in the animal corner?
I have bat hearts and pregnant fish.
Oh, you
As
pregnant fish? Do you like the aquarium? Or are you in the ocean now?
Little of both, hopping in my deep sea explorer vessel. What could go wrong?
What? Oh, dear Lord. Is that a year ago now? How long?
Yes.
Is it too soon? Is it okay?
No, it wasn't actually that week. It wasn't too soon.
Yeah,
No.
I agree.
A bunch of really rich people went into an unsanctioned, untested deep sea thing, and it ended badly.
It ended very, and they're already like, let's do it again. Hey, everybody,
Yeah.
we should do this again. All right. Go ahead. If that's how you want to spend your monies, you go do
It's
that.
like there needs to be a picture of that vessel next to the word hubris in the dictionary now, right? Like
That's it. I agree with that. I think Justin's thinking positively about that idea. He's like, let me consider this.
I like that.
I'm going to reach out to Merriam-Webster tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
good gracious.
I was in London when that happened, and I think it was a British guy who was the head, and even the British press was like, "Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
where
the
you
expected
are.
happened."
Yes.
Like they were very kind of brutal about it. Like,
That was, I mean, that we
That's
just had a
surprising.
global case of Schadenfreude, right? Like that's basically what happened. Is just
Yeah.
the entire global consciousness went,
yeah.
I can't look away.
I should I be surprised this is happening? I'm not surprised this is happening. Am I? No, I'm not surprised, and nobody else is either. And I'm not.
And it
looking
was
away.
just a list of quick interview snippets. I remember from people who had complained who had been on it or had looked at it and had all said that it makes
No.
weird sounds. It seems
Don't.
rickety. It hasn't been inspected. There's
Don't
something
do
wrong
it.
with it. Don't do it. Yeah, that's what everybody was. Anyway. fun.
Anyway, now we have astronauts stuck on the space station because Boeing didn't.
Are they still there?
I think so. Yep, not back yet. Yeah,
Okay.
can't come home because of a helium issue, actually. So it's they have used helium as a coolant, I think, and they don't have enough helium. They can't make more. So whereas hydrogen, they would have been able to make more, but they didn't put that in there because it was, I think, an easier solution to use helium, even though they can't solve it in space now that it's broken. So that is part of the problem. Yeah. So hopefully somebody will get up there and take the astronauts back at some point in time. We'll see what happens.
So,
Yeah.
So what have we learned?
I mean,
but I learned.
What have we learned?
Never to defend Boeing, because like the whole thing when the
Oh.
rocket kept being like, "Oh, the rocket hasn't gone up yet. There's another problem." I'm like, "That's the rocket." Quit! Everybody's saying Boeing. I'm like, no, that's just a little capsule at the top. That's not the rocket.
No.
That's being made by somebody else. So you can't blame Boeing. And then as soon as Boeing got up there, they're like, "Oh, we have a problem."
Yeah.
Do these scientists know something? So is this the other thing, right? Because like the whistleblowers for Boeing keep disappearing. So
Dying. I mean, oops.
Yeah. Yes. And
My
so
13-year-old
are the
knows about
scientists
it.
being stuck in space because they don't want them coming back to Earth because they know something.
Well, look, here's the thing: is Boeing got bought a while back by a defense contractor. I think I'm safe saying that in a foreign country. Maybe I'm less safe.
I think
Defense
it's private
contractor who
equity.
started running things apparently the way that they run things when they're building stuff for the U.S. military, which is as long as we deliver a product, it's fine. It doesn't matter how we make it.
No, wrong.
That seems to have been what's been taking place with the planes and now with other side business that they're doing for NASA. So maybe defense contractors aren't the best ones to build things.
No, I think it's profit oriented.
Profit, not product oriented.
Not product. I mean, what happened? They started going for all of those investments and quarterly profits and profit sharing and great profits. But oh look, we have a bunch of airplanes that have doors popping off mid-flight and other thing. Yeah. Anyway, it's great fun.
It wasn't even profits; it was just stock price, which is different.
That's what it. Yes, stock.
You
I mean,
can
that's
still
what
take
I mean.
a loss.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, get
I
your
guess that all worked
capitalism
out.
out of my utilities and get your capitalism out of my space exploration, please.
Thank
Get
you.
your capitalism out.
Haven't
Yeah, I
you
was
seen
trying to
Star
find
Trek?
it.
Even Star Wars, like it's not very capitalist. It's very
ULA is not, it is not as much, but Boeing is definitely, and that's where the CEO is getting into trouble. And that's where a lot of corner cutting is taking place. But this is just me talking. I don't know, everybody. Let's talk about more science and less
Yeah, what
corporate.
is this show? This is
corporate
fun,
cost-
actually.
Let's just complain about Boeing. That's what this show is about now.
Oh man, I feel like we need to do this like once a month. Is no science stories. Let's just chat.
vent about the news.
I think that would be fun too. Let's do that.
Oh
I
yeah.
love
Hey,
it.
how's everything going in the U.S. by the way?
It's hot.
It's fine.
It's getting hot
Don't
in
worry
here.
about it.
Yeah,
all
it's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everything's
really
Somebody,
awesome.
okay, quick,
There's gonna be
one
some,
last,
great.
Presidential
last thing,
golf
we'll get
games
back
or
on-
something. I don't know.
on point.
Yeah,
We'll get
yeah.
back on point. And somebody said, asked me, was like, recently, hey, what do you miss most about America compared to Denmark? And I was like, oh well, what do I miss about America? Well, I miss women's right to choose, and I miss the whole, equal treatment under the law for everyone. I miss those two things.
That
do you
hurts.
mean?
And
Like,
you
well,
miss it the
apparently-
most because they're gone.
They're gone.
See, I thought you would have said the food, but that's just me.
No, I mean French fries. They're French, or I mean they're Belgian, really. I think
Actually, the food here is pretty good.
it is.
The produce
Except
is
for,
terrible, but the
mean,
food
Denmark,
is still good.
There's a lot of cheese, isn't it? Casa.
The cheese, I don't eat the cheese here. I have to get other
No.
cheese. That you can go really wrong with cheese in Denmark, like really wrong.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
unpasteurized, and we'll get to that and the bird flu boobies later. But
Oh.
we're going to get to the science now because I know Blair's tired and she's like, this talking is nice. I could do that. But we did come
Yeah.
with stories tonight.
Yeah, we did.
And there was a quest because Blair didn't get much sleep last night with a child. So the animal corner
we're going to do a quick show.
It's all done right now. We're gonna
We're
do the
gonna-
news, and then it's just gonna be all done. It's great. But anyway, I just gotta let you know as we jump into the show here that you can subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch for our weekly live broadcast on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. ish Pacific time, and then it's there on those video places. And you can also find us as a podcast, places that podcasts are found. Look for This Week in Science. TWIS is another name that we go by. This Week in Science, TWIS. Makes sense, right? Our website is twis.org, and show notes and other fun things are there as well. So you can find us, subscribe to us, and share us very easily. And I really hope that you'll do that. But now it's time to jump into the show. So let us. I think it's burger time. So I don't know, summer burger. I don't know. It's very American. Sorry for that. But Blair, I guess it's time for me to play a song because I'm totally off beat right now. What are we doing? It's time for Blair's Animal Corner. You're muted. With Blair.
Goats are creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. You want to hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
What you got, Blair?
I have bat hearts, which I don't know if earlier I teased bat brains because I got
No, you
confused.
said hearts. You said hearts.
Okay, good, great. Well, I have bat hearts. So it's been the science news has been very batty lately, which I appreciate. I feel like there was a bat deficit in the zoological news in recent years, and
Maybe
it's
it
really
was fear
exploded recently.
oriented, or maybe now there's more bat research for a particular reason. I don't know. Anyway,
Could be. I didn't even really think about the COVID link, but yeah, that could absolutely be the case. Well, this research coming from Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior and the University of Konstanz looked at bats in Germany, in Konstanz, Germany. They were looking at the common noctule bat, and they wanted to understand how much energy bats consume during the day and how this changes over the course of the year for several reasons, but the main one being that all bats are either protected or endangered or threatened. And so there's lots of conservation work that needs to be done around bats. So knowing their kind of energy requirements and their feeding habits is really important to being able to conserve their population. So what they did is they fitted these bats with small heart rate transmitters. They weighed less than a gram, about 0.8 grams. And heart rate, just like with humans, can be used to determine energy consumption. So basically, if you measure how quickly the heart is beating, that can be directly related to the amount of calories being used. The transmitters were fitted on the bats for a few days, and they set out an audio signal of the bat's heartbeat. And then that was recorded using a radio receiver. The funny thing about the procedure here is that the procedure or the receiver only works within a few hundred meters of the bats. So during the day, they could record their heartbeats without interruptions because they were resting in tree caves or bat boxes. So they'd find a bunch of bats and they just sit and hang out and record their heartbeat. But at night, they move around. And so they were hunting insects and they would cover several kilometers in a short amount of time. And so they actually hopped in a small airplane and followed individual bats.
Wow.
For over an hour. Yeah.
That's pretty
so
wild.
that's some truly wild animal research. I love it. So what they found, the heart rate of bats, these particular types of bats, reach around 900 beats per minute during flight. That's pretty fast. So remember, our resting heart rate is depending on your cardiovascular health and your size and all sorts of things. It's generally about 60 to 80 beats per minute. If you're resting, if you're working out, it should be over 100, could be up to 120. If you're really pushing yourself, it might get up to 150, but 900 that's a fast heart rate. In fact, they said that when they were analyzing the signal, it sounded like a single high-pitched tone instead of individual beats because it was so fast. And so they were looking at this, and then they found that during the spring, when they would go through torpor during the day, so it was basically daytime hibernation. The reason it's called torpor is that their heartbeat would reduce to about 6 beats per minute. So think for a second about that spread.
Oh, wow.
A high of 900 beats per minute and a low of 6 beats per minute. Truly wild. And so the other crazy thing is that there was this huge disparity in the seasons. So in the summer, they would consume 42% more energy in the spring. And that was because it turns out, they found this out in the course of this research project, that in the summer, they actually don't go through torpor and they will stay awake during the day. They take that time to invest energy in sperm production so that they're ready for mating in the autumn. So they are just awake making sperm. So they're not
But they're not
quote, unquote,
torpor,
awake.
but yeah, so they're like
yeah.
they're during the daytime they're still going to just be slow. It's not torpor, right?
Right. It's just normal, like a resting heart rate as opposed to a flying heart rate. But they don't dip down like they do during the day in the spring. So during the summer, they're either awake or they're just like less asleep than during the spring. And so they spend this time, their metabolism is busy making sperm. They also, in order to compensate for that, have to hunt twice as long in the summer. So they're awake longer for that reason as well. So they could eat up to 33 June beetles or over 2,500 mosquitoes in one night. That's that 42% higher intake. Are we listening to the heartbeat?
Yeah, so I found the heartbeat and that high-pitched tone that you referenced, it really is.
But that's just at 24 beats per minute.
Torpid bat, heart rate 24 BPM. And then we'll move forward. Resting bat heart rate.
That's like twice jump.
Okay, let's get up to 600 BPM before flight.
Before flight. We're getting ready to go. Look at that cute. He looks like he's wearing a toupee.
And this is the flying bat heart rate at 720. so interesting the way that it shifted from
Yeah.
that there seemed to be a certain amount of wave-like action within.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
wave-like action within the higher frequency recordings. That was it. There was a different sound to it there, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, all this to say, we know way more about bat heart rates than we knew before. There's this seasonality of their heart rate and their energy consumption that was not identified previously. And so, of course, that can impact the conservation efforts for these individual bats because we know more about what they need when they need it. And when you have temperature fluctuations or changes in food availability, i.e., climate change, how will that impact these needs? Right. So these are all things to consider. But also, if you're identifying areas to put bat boxes or like when is the best time to do that? Where is the best place to do that? So there's a lot of things that can go into taking better care of bat populations as a result of research like this. But mostly I was just very surprised and interested in this wide change in heart rate over the course of the day.
Now I'm like curious, like that's got to be the biggest range, right? There can't be. I can't imagine there being another creature that has as big of a range between heartbeats. So now, like we've been studying bats for all sorts of things that could have, their ability to withstand viruses in their immune system, and we look at all these things. Now I think we got to start investigating heart health in bats in terms of like if you can get to 900 beats and not have a heart attack, right?
Well, what is it?
Or down to 6 or whatever and still survive. You know.
I mean, there is definitely a shorter lifespan involved in the bats that we're looking at than elephants or humans. But so what, and there is a relationship between faster heart rate and shorter lifespan that seems to be pretty consistent across animals, different animal kingdoms. So, I think those are really interesting questions to ask and hopefully answer, right? Like what kind of stresses can a heart take, and how much can these muscles, what makes those heart muscles able to do that? And is it that the bats die because they have heart attacks, or do they die of old age?
Right.
Do they die? I mean, we all die because our hearts give out, right? At some point. But why is it that our hearts give out? Is it because we stopped breathing, or is it because our hearts just stopped?
So I just looked because I do think it's an interesting question that Justin brought up. And I was like, oh, I wonder if hummingbirds, because they go through torpor. But a quick Google, so this is not supremely fact checked, tells me that they go from the low at about 50 to the high of between 500 and 1,000. So still a pretty big range.
They're in that range. They're getting in there. Yeah, that was a good call.
And there are shrews that have heart rates up to 1,500 beats per minute, and a lot of shrews go through some sort of hibernation or torpor. So I think that I'm not sure if this takes the cake, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of questions to be looked at here as to what makes this work the way that it does. There was a study out in the last few weeks talking about how scientists are putting frogs into basically hot boxes. They're giving them little places to hang out during frog saunas, right? That heat them up, and the hotter they get during the day, because of just the ambient temperatures and the heat building up, it might kill the chytrid fungus and possibly other funguses. And bats themselves, with bat boxes, based on where you put them, they can go well into the triple digits depending on where you place them. And that's actually not bad for certain bats, depending on, some of them, that's good. The high temperatures actually help the bats fight off, and they have high body temperatures already. So how does this high temperature in spring and summer, how does the more wakefulness, the higher heart rates, that diversity of heart rates, like how does all that variation play into their survival. It's so interesting.
Yes, more research to do for sure.
Oh, we got to look at bat hearts more often. Let's do it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Abs-
So
Yes.
moving on.
Bing pot. Yes.
Moving on to fish brains, specifically pregnant fish brains. Pregnancy-related brain impairment.
What?
That's something that I know something about. As of
No.
late.
No.
They call it baby brain or momnesia in humans. There's lots of studies on this, and it's real. There is a detrimental impact of pregnancy on mammalian brains. There's disruption of neurological processes like neurogenesis or the creation of new neurons. And ultimately, that affects learning and memory. It's not just that you're tired. It's not just that your like hormones are all over the place. Being pregnant actually prevented you from building new neurons. Your brain is mush.
Oh, no.
That is real.
No.
Blair,
So,
I mean, honestly, I don't remember this happening to me. So
That's
because your brain is
because
mush.
there were no new neurons to save that information, Kiki.
I
Really?
think
You
I'd,
don't feel like
I think
you-
I'd know. I'd
You
remember.
don't think
I
you,
would have
like,
noticed.
forgot things more or anything like that? I definitely experienced that. I felt like an airhead. Wow. Okay. Well, anyway,
Anyway.
it's something that has been studied. And now it's been studied in fish. And you say to me, don't fish lay eggs. Some do. Some are viviparous. Some carry
Ooh.
babies and have live birth.
Like
And
sharks.
so this is yes, like some sharks. And so this is a study looking at viviparous fish and the impacts of pregnancy on fish brains. They were looking specifically at the aquarium fish family Posilidae, which includes guppies, mollies, and platies. And so they wanted to see if it has to do with having a placenta or not. Like, if you don't have a placenta, do you still get mom brain?
Hmm.
And so they were looking at
That's interesting.
Posiliopsis gracilis. They're superfetaceous, which means this is a word I actually
Wait,
did not
They're
recall.
flirtatious fish?
Super fetaceous, which means
Wait,
Kiki, do
spell
you
that
know-
again?
super
Super
FETATIOUS.
fetaceous.
Super fetaceous. So
Okay.
super fetal, right? So
Fetaceous. Oh.
many fetuses, meaning they can be
Mhm.
pregnant with multiple temporally overlapping broods of offspring simultaneously. So
Okay.
there's there's actually a mammal that's super fetaceous, which is kangaroos. So anyway, that's a whole nother tangent. But so that means that essentially these fish are pregnant constantly in adulthood. Once they can get pregnant, they're always pregnant until they die. So detrimental impact on cognition could be more evident in that species because it's kind of impacted. Like it's magnified because they don't get a break. They're just constantly pregnant. So you could potentially really see some magnified effects in these guys. So they took pregnant and virgin fish. They were trained to associate a green disc with the location of food. And then they had to perform a spatial learning task where they were presented with two seemingly identical discs in different locations. So then they had to figure out where to go to get the food. They were then tested by swapping the locations of the rewarded and non-rewarded discs. Where is the green disc? To see how the fish adjusted to the new location of the food reward. And so to assess their neurology, they removed the brains of pregnant and virgin females and used cell staining to identify areas of new cell proliferation, which is their indicator of which areas of the brain were producing new cells. So they tested the fish, they recorded their behavioral responses, and then they tested the brains with staining to see where there were new cells in the brain. They
That's
found
great.
that
I would have done
Yeah.
that. That's
Yes,
exactly it.
absolutely. And no, the brains did not go back in the fish afterwards. I'm very sorry. They found that while both
can't do
pregnant
that,
and virgin
no.
fish were equally successful in both cognitive tasks, the pregnant fish were more hesitant when choosing where to go. So they took longer. They were equally successful, but there was like a pause. There was no difference in cell proliferation in the regions of the brain most responsible for learning and memory, which is where we lose our proliferation when we're pregnant. However, they saw that pregnant females had decreased cell proliferation in regions which contribute to maternal olfactory reception. So they were losing their sense of smell, basically. So that suggests that pregnancy compromises the fish's ability to interpret scent in the water, which contributes to their choice aversion in cognitive tests. So either they hesitated because it took them longer to identify the smell, or there was a reduced ability to kind of like make a choice because they did not want to take a risk of foraging for food when reward is not guaranteed. So basically, like either it just took them longer to smell it, or the smell was less evident, and so they had to kind of debate whether to go on a hunt or not, if that makes sense.
So it couldn't. I mean, like, what that sounds to me is like they got not like pregnancy brain, but like cautious brain. Like now there's a higher risk involved in any decision I make. Let me really think about this for a minute. Is that really what I want to do? Is that worth the risk? Because I got this other higher priority versus just reward right now.
So
like it could just be cautious brain.
And you
But
could
why?
think that if you only did the behavioral tests. The key is that they took these brains and it was specifically the olfactory center that was impacted. So that's why the researchers are making this leap to say that the lack of the ability to smell is more related to the choices that they're making. So
yeah, but that could be, I mean, how else does nature do these things? How else does nature play out a strategy of more cautiousness? Maybe it's like, I've really got to like, the smell isn't as obvious. I really have to think about it now. I'm not suggesting, for instance, that the evolutionary response to being pregnant is better analysis of risk reward and a statistical chart that the fish will have in its head. But maybe this is nature's way of like, don't just go after the first smell. I need you to, it really has to be, make it through the senses very specifically. I'm going to get rid of all the sort of narrowing the bandwidth through which the good smell can come, so that you're more certain. This is more the way that I think the nature would have that positive impact, as opposed to a rationale amongst the fish. And Kiki, you're muted.
Thank you. So the question comes down to, though, from my neuroscientist, physiologist, behavioral brain, is why did that behavior get started in the first place? So we can say psychologically or behaviorally, yes, it makes sense to be hesitant and cautious, and that's good for survival. But then you go even further back into mechanisms, and you start looking at what are the things that reduce proliferation of brain cells. Why would proliferation of brain cells be reduced? It's reduced in pregnant versus virgin fish. So you have there's an energetic trade-off for sure, which is going to be, you're pregnant, so less energy to the brain in the first place, but perhaps the way that it has traded off in a particular area affecting neurogenesis in certain areas of the brain, it leads to these behaviors that are then evolutionarily impactful, more successful and beneficial. It's like more cautious. Okay, babies survive more often. And so that leads to then those, kind of an evolutionary explanation that you can come into. But I don't know. I always bring it back to the mechanism stuff.
And
Why?
I would,
Wow.
and I have like 4 anecdotal examples.
Like
of-
where you are when you're pregnant, where you are going to remember where you left your keys or your food, or
Yes, but I can tell you, human birth is not easy. I'll be the first to tell you this in case you don't remember, because you might
Thank
not.
goodness, Justin, that you, the man,
remember it at all.
have come out with this very controversial take. I appreciate it.
He's only
part
been
of it
pseudo
is-
neck. He's been pregnant adjacent many times.
I've
He's
been present for 4 births.
Yeah,
I've
birth
been present for
adjacent.
4 births, and without pregnancy brain. And I can tell you, amazingly,
Spencer's
The-
supposed to get
the-
pregnancy brain
the-
too, though. Isn't that weird?
the women.
So I want to see a fish get that.
Hang on, the women who can remember a thing I said several months ago that I forgot that I had committed to, or the birth dates of everybody who we've ever met, or who have these lists of memories that I have no access to,
Mhm.
do not remember the details of the birth.
No.
Do not remember the details of the.
Well,
2 days
that's
after.
a whole different thing. That's a specific mechanism where amnesia hormones are released by your body. No, this is
Yeah.
real.
No,
So
this
that
is
you'll get
after
pregnant again.
childbirth.
No,
yes. So that you're willing to try that
you
insanity
have to
again.
forget. You have to
Yes.
forget.
Yeah, I totally think so. I think that's like the only way people would have multiple children is if they
No,
just
Justin,
can't
this is
remember
real.
what they went through.
This has already been studied. This is
Mhm.
science. For real. You get roofied by your body at the end of childbirth. That is what happens.
So the interesting thing here about the fish, right, that are pregnant basically all the time, right? They have a rolling pregnancy. They're just constantly birthing babies. Bloop, 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 bloop. They have to keep the calories up. They got to keep the energy going. They got to keep wanting to get pregnant. But this, to me, momnesia, pregnancy brain, is this a cross fish? Is it all like which fish more so?
Right.
Because is this convergent evolution, or is this actually something where our vertebrate ancestors, the aquatic vertebrate ancestors, the females had momnesia and mom brain, and it has led to more like what aspects of it have been carried on evolutionarily?
Right. And that's a great question because to my knowledge, viviparous fish, that is a convergent trait, right? So like the ancestral fish was an egg layer. So the fact that they have live birth and that we have live birth is convergent in and of itself. So it's not it would make sense if this is specifically about live birth that it would have to also be a convergent result of having this neuron issue. So
Mhm.
and that would make sense then why the location of the detriment is different for different lineages.
Mhm.
So really
Yeah.
what you need to do is like you need to look at some ovoviviparous
I love that you can say that so easily.
reptiles.
It's a very difficult.
Well,
word.
ovovivipary is different too because
I know.
so you have
Now she's
ovipary,
just
which
showing
is
off.
you lay eggs. You have vivipary, which is you have live birth. And then you have ovovivipary, which means your body makes
All the time.
an
Flexing.
egg
It's flexing.
and then it reabsorbs the shell towards the end of the birth canal and then they have live birth. So like you have a yolk and things. So you're not contributing the same amount of your body's energy to the maturation of these fetus as you are with a true vivipary. So like is it happening with that at all? Because it's probably not, because it's much more contained. But I think that would be where you'd have to find the kind of the line, right? And then there are reptiles that like kind of sort of do ovovivipary, but like it dissolves way sooner. But like so there's like all these different, nothing's cut and dried in the animal kingdom as we talk about
Really?
over. And so there's all these different categories of how this works and different ways that mothers surrendered their body to being a mother.
Mhm.
And how do those things impact their bodies and their brains? And I think this is just the beginning of kind of this exploration of being able to see what happens internally when you're building a whole new or many new lives. It's pretty wild.
It's very wild. And I'm going to run off of your talking about vivipary, ovovipar. I stumble. I can pronounce words and I stumble on it. Jeez, that was a total flex, Blair. But I'm going to run out of the animal corner, not screaming, but celebrating parenthood, motherhood, and the things that allow mothers to be mothers and not be too detrimentally impacted. Blair, you're going to love this one. A study this last week published in Nature called Maternal Brain Hormone that builds bone. So the question is, moms, we make babies, we birth them, and then we go on to breastfeed them. At least mammals go on to breastfeed. And so lactation involves a lot of breakdown of calcium and mobilization of calcium and other nutrients from the diet. And if they are not all present in the diet, also from muscle and bone. And many people breastfeeding, they lose weight, they lose muscle mass if the diet is not sufficient to be able to keep the nutrients going to the child who is feeding off of that lactate. So researchers just published this article, open access, this last week, looking at how do mothers maintain bone density. The bottom line is there is a certain amount of bone density that's lost as a result of being pregnant.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't.
Yeah, not always, but I'm going to say but it should, based on the balance of calcium and other metabolites, it should be way worse. Like mothers should basically be like crumbling piles of broken bone by the time they're done breastfeeding, but we're not.
Oh my goodness.
No, that was a little of a visual image there for everyone. So the researchers were trying to figure out what happens there and how the body moves to counteract bone resorption. Now, estrogen is usually involved in that process, and it drops really a lot during the postpartum period. This is part of why what triggers a lot of postpartum depression and diet, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that. But anyway, they showed from their study that they have female-specific dense bone phenotypes that originate from a humoral factor that actually promotes, and this is from their abstract, bone mass and acts on skeletal stem cells to increase their frequency and osteochondrogenic potential. So that means bone cell growth, the birth, like neurogenesis. This is osteogenesis, osteochondrogenic. So bone and bone, blood, and what's that other one? Your nose and your ears. Yeah. Cartilage. Yes, exactly. There we go. Building that up. So this factor is identified in their studies. They called it CCN3. It's from a specific neurons, the ARC-KIS1 neurons. Yes, KIS1. And these neurons become active coincident with lactation. And so this expression, the ARC neurons go ta-da! And when lactation starts and the estrogen drops, they're like, woo, here we go. And they tell the body through this CCN3 that nope, you don't need to lose any more bone. In fact, you should really be building more bone. And when they reduced CCN3 in the neurons, the mothers lost more bone and failed to sustain their progeny when they had a low calcium diet. So basically, the CCN3 is essential for making sure that mothers can maintain the calcium and maintain the bone density that they need.
So immediately we then have to move to, how do you simulate pregnancy in old people? Right.
Indulge.
Or this
Oh,
mechanism.
right. Right. So for women or men, anyone who loses bone density, right? Osteoarthritis. How do we stop it?
Astronauts.
Astronauts.
Also.
There's fewer astronauts than there are people who are struggling with osteoarthritis just
Currently.
because of age. Yeah. Yeah, so their study here is really fascinating because they're looking at mice, but in this discovery of what they are seeing in mice, they've been able to determine that there is this pathway, and it's a neurally and hormonally regulated pathway that makes the bones happy and makes mommies not lose all of their bones. So we need that. And yeah, how can we use it to the benefit? How can we stimulate the ARC KISS1 neurons in everyone as they age if they need it? There's so many of us, especially people who are in Portland. Right? Yeah, really interesting, well done study. And who knows where it is going to go. So moving forward, and yeah, maybe this could also help with fracture repair in the future. I don't know. Maybe we can do that. Another female-based study, woman-based study, pregnancy kind of related. Well, actually, yeah, the ability to become pregnant is associated with menstruation. And people who menstruate are always looking for good menstrual pads, except menstrual pads. And this might be a surprise to some people who don't menstruate. They don't absorb a lot of stuff, and then they leak. And so people don't like pads. Justin's leaving right now. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm done. I don't want to talk about it.
I recently found out that until a couple years ago, they only tested pads on like water.
Yeah.
They didn't start
actually
testing them with blood until like a couple years ago.
very recently. It is, yeah. It's like, oh no, it's like the same. It's water. No, it's not.
No wonder they don't work.
So they don't work most of the time. And new study out in the last couple of weeks also determined that a lot of the tampon products that are being used are really bad for us and actually have microplastics and really terrible things that are really bad. Lots of microplastics.
Course.
You're like absorbing microplastics through your vagina. Okay. Your cervix, I guess. Yes. So Blair is now dead. She's like, I'm done. Oh, yeah. And new study this week, stroke risk is increased with microplastics. So, hey, this is all awesome. What are we going to do about it? Well, researchers have just been trying to figure out what they can do to make a better pad, and published in 50 Matter. It is an open access journal. They have reported a naturally derived biomaterial formulation for improved menstrual care. And in what they have created, it's very interesting. They have developed a biopolymer-based formulation that comes from alginate. So algae-based formula. This formulation gets menstrual blood to gel. It's not coagulation per se, but it gels blood in an alternative to coagulation. So it's more like menstrual blood that they tested, which I guess is cool, as opposed to water. And in the testing of this new alginate product that they've created, they determined that they had a particular molecular weight alginate with glycerol that could absorb and gel blood. And it's a powder that can be deployed as a traditional pad filler or as an additive to menstrual cups so that it reduces leaking and spilling. And they have an antimicrobial polymer involved. And so no Staphylococcus aureus, no toxic shock syndrome. I mean, people don't usually get toxic shock from the pads, but toxic shock from a cup or from tampons is a very big issue. So, to arrive at a healthier, safer alternative that is less likely to leak, which leads to psychological and social issues, mental health, detractions from mental health, and also issues with just how women feel in public when the embarrassment that comes with things like that occurring. It could very well be a product for the future that will, I don't know, will hopefully lead to a healthier, better product for all people who menstruate.
And hopefully, female products or products for people who menstruate can be free. Because that's the other thing. Is this going to be an extra $2, $5 per package than the stuff that has microplastics in it?
Yeah. Hopefully it's the
Or
same
are you just going to
cost.
give it away because the pink tax is annoying?
I don't know. I think we should do like the Red Hot Chili Peppers say, give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. That's right. No more pink tax.
No.
But anyway, I think it's really interesting that they are using algae to arrive at this solution. So it is a more sustainable, natural solution. Hopefully, that the antimicrobial polymer that they included in this is not something. It's more physical in nature as opposed to molecular in a way that it could lead, something that won't lead to antimicrobial resistance. But the fact that they are considering that in the development of this product is really cool. All right. And then mammary glands. Mammary glands are awesome too. I've got so many of these things right here. We're going to talk last estrogenic kind of story. We're going to talk about flu boobs now. I've been saying flu boobs because I think it's kind of funny, but really, this is an issue. We've talked about bird flu infecting milk. And how does bird flu get into milk? How does that happen? Well, everybody's like, how does a virus get into the mammary glands? That shouldn't happen. The body should be filtering all the viruses out. So if you are sick, you should, as a mother lactating, you as a mammal lactating for their young, you should not be passing that virus along to your offspring based on what we understand of the way that the glands work for lactation and creating that milk. Anyway, just published in Nature this week, researchers took bird flu from an infected person in 2004 and it made it to the mouse and ferret mammary glands. And I guess the good thing from this study is they showed that that particular virus H5N1 virus they were looking at did not circulate very well in the air. So it was probably more droplet spread, which explains potentially why with flu issues, the flu spread reduces when people wash their hands and wear masks. And additionally, it's not just cows who can spread the flu. We can too, or so can you. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a new catchphrase, but anyway. Yeah, so the virus has been detected in cow milk, and cow mammary cells have a protein on them. They call it's a duck-like protein. So it's very similar, duck-like, not that it looks like a duck, but that it is similar to proteins that are found in birds, in ducks, which are animals that are infected by the H5N1 virus initially, and then spread it to areas where the cows can become infected. And they thought that the virus would be carried from one cow udder to another through milking equipment, but there's a combination of things. And in this study, they also looked at mice and ferrets, like I said, H5N1 taken from a cow, also from people, and the virus spread to the lungs, also through the body to other organs, including the brain, intestines, kidney, and heart. So, hey, COVID isn't the only virus that likes to infect everything. It also spread to the mammary glands of the mice and ferrets. And so
they're ruling
yeah.
out the milking equipment then.
It's a combination of all these things, but it suggests that the infection it's not spreading through the air. It's probably more so spreading on the milk, through the milk itself. And if they're not cleaning the milking equipment appropriately, it definitely could be spread that way, but most likely not. It's probably more likely to just be spread by the milk through the young of the cows, and then also just respiratory droplets and cows licking each other.
Yeah, because there's two things there. One is the dairy industry basically invented the entire sanitation, clean in place things the pharmaceutical industry uses. So they've tended to be way ahead of the game when it comes to preventing any of their equipment from harboring or transmitting diseases. Mostly to protect humans, but it also would, from cow to cow, you would also assume that happened. And then, cows, as we've learned in the past, are social nuzzlers. They come up and they put their noses together and they chat about their days and they hang out in groups, and they're actually highly social creatures.
They're so cute. They really are.
They're highly social. So that makes more sense in terms of cow to cow transfer. If they're breathing the same air and nuzzling the same cow schnot.
Yeah, so the risk still is very low to humans of this H5N1 virus.
And will remain so until it's not.
Exactly, yeah. The risk to humans who are working in the dairy industry may be a little bit higher. So make sure your hands are washed. Make sure you're cleaning that milking equipment. Maybe wear a mask when you go to work and don't let the cows lick your face. Don't go snuggle cows if you don't have to. Don't drink raw cow milk or any other kind of raw milk if you have a choice at this point in time. And maybe if you're a mother who's breastfeeding and you have been sick with the flu or other thing, you might consider really sanitizing those breastfeeding pumps that you are using, because this research does suggest that these proteins are common to across mammalian species, and that this indicates a little bit closer thing. All right, so we are going to keep moving forward. I'm going to take a quick break right now. We've been talking all about the estrogenic stuff. We were talking about the animals, the bad hearts, the baby brains. It's time now for Blair to go so she can rest her brain. Yes.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us, Blair.
Blair, thanks for showing up.
Thanks for bringing your stories.
Animal Corner to us.
Animal Corner brings it. Woot, woot. Have a good week.
Oh, I almost hit end stream. Ah!
You're not supposed to have that.
Sorry. Bye, everybody. I'm going to hit leave, which is
That's
the right
one.
button.
You hit the leave studio button, not end stream. She waves goodbye. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. This is what I get when people start logging in using my account. Hey, everybody. I hope that you're enjoying the show so far. I promise we're not going to talk anymore about menstrual pads. We're going to keep moving to some more very interesting topics in just a moment. I would like to ask before we move on, though, that if you do like the show, please share it with a friend. Head over to TWIS.org and you can find our subscription links there. If you know people who are on Spotify or Pandora, or I don't know where people are for their podcasting these days, Google. That's right, YouTube. We got our podcast on YouTube and other places. You can look for This Week in Science. Share us, like us, subscribe to us. It really does a real service to the show to add to our numbers so that so that we get shared more in the algorithms. That's how it works. Also, just, then you won't miss a show. I mean, that's really what I care about, right? It's what you care about too. TWIS.org, you can also find our Patreon link. That's where you can support the show in an ongoing fashion. If you go to TWIS.org, click on the Patreon link, you can choose to support us at $10 or more per month, or any amount, but $10 more per month, and we will thank you by name at the end of the show. And there are other things that get mailed to you along the way as well. And our Zillow. No, I'm not selling you houses. No. Nope, no houses. Zazzle. These websites. Zazzle link. That's our store where we sell merchandise related to the show that goes to support the show as well. A lot of it is TWIS related. Well, all of it's TWIS related, but a lot of it is Animal Corner specific that Blair has created with her artistic abilities. And we really want to see you with your TWIS towels for the summer. Do you have your TWIS calendar? Do you have your TWIS trucker hat? I mean, come on, people. Let us know how much you
I
love
need to
TWIS.
get that again. I used to
Yeah.
have a TWIS trucker hat. I really loved it.
Yeah, we have
and it's the
TWIS
only
mouse
trucker hat I've
pads,
ever
all sorts
owned
of
or
things.
worn. So I got to get that
Get
one
you
again. I
I
forgot all
TWIS
about it.
sweatshirts. It's a little too hot to think about sweatshirts right now in the United States. But anyway, TWIS.org, click on the Zazzle link. There's so many cool things in there. Support the show. Show us that you love us by buying and using our goods. It helps us out. I think that's all the stuff right now, but really the main message right there is we can't do this show without you. We really appreciate that you are here. Thank you for your support. All right, coming on back with more TWIS right now. And everyone, oh my goodness, it's not the animal corner. It's time for Justin to talk about stuff.
Aha! Well, if I'd known I was going to talk about stuff, I would have brought stories.
There you go. I'm throwing it at
However,
you. There you go.
Oh, I don't even know where to start. Okay. Actually, this is one I'm going to start with here. This is from the Max Planck Society. It says newly identified fast-moving stars in the star cluster Omega Centauri have provided solid evidence for a central black hole in its cluster of stars. This black hole they estimate to be around 8,200 solar masses. It's 8,200 of our suns in mass. And what's sort of interesting about this black hole at the center of this star system is that this star system is within the Milky Way, and the star system used to be a galaxy. It used to be its own galaxy with this black hole at its hub. At some point in the ancient cosmic history of time, this galaxy got absorbed by our Milky Way with its much, much larger central black hole, which is in the millions, I think, of solar masses. And it's this sort of what they're calling a time capsule galaxy. So Omega Centauri has a collection of about 10 million.
Explain the time capsule aspect. Like,
so
somebody buried it in a backyard.
Yeah. So this is what is thought to be an early version of galaxy. They have a collection. They have a black hole at the center, which sort of anchors everything. The stars are swirling around it, and throughout cosmic time, the black hole absorbs more and more of the stars in its system, and occasionally it meanders about and meets other black holes and other galaxies of similar size, and they merge and they form larger galaxies with larger black holes at their core. But this one got caught somewhere in the rural portion of our galaxy when our galaxy was already a much bigger black hole anchored fish in the cosmic soup, and so no longer was merging. No longer had anything to merge with. It got caught up in our orbit of our galaxy, And this sort of primitive galaxy got stuck in its development. It couldn't merge with anything else, and many of its stars got stripped away by our galactic influence. And so it doesn't have enough stars to fall in to make it bigger. Actually, if all of the stars really fell in, if all of the stars fell into its center, and there's something like 10 million stars around this black hole, the sort of whole system would actually be the same, because it would have the same amount of gravity. So it still wouldn't go anywhere different, right? So it's kind of just stuck where it's at. And so this is also an interesting kind of a find, because this isn't a much hypothesized look or expectation of what early galactic development would look like, with a considered a very small galaxy with a small black hole, 8,200 solar masses, still on the small side. These can get into the millions and even tens of millions or even billions of sun masses at the cores of galaxies. So this is a very small one, but then still beyond, a stellar black hole, which is just a few stars worth. This is in that, and it's not a supermassive, so it's right in between, and it had its collection of 10 million stars around it. But now to figure out, when they first looked at this, the Omega Centauri is visible in the southern hemispheres, southern latitudes, as a smudgety thing in the sky.
Smudgety, very sciencey term.
A smudgety spherical collection of stars, and it has been hypothesized that there was a black hole in the center, and they were trying to figure out ways to look at this, and it came down to Max Planck Institute for Astronomy, Maximilian Haberl, who I'm mispronouncing, got tasked.
Heberly. What do you do? A with the umlaut. Heberly.
I think it's an O.
Heberly.
Depends on what country.
Heberly. Yeah, which one are you? Anyway, go ahead.
Hober? Anyway.
Heberler. Yeah.
So you got tasked basically with like, hey, track these 10 million stars and see where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so Maximilian he led the work, but didn't really track all 10 million, but did manage to measure the velocities of 1.4 million stars by studying some 500 Hubble images of the cluster. Now, the Hubble images of this cluster were never intended for scientific research. This was a calibration tool. So let's check how well calibrated Hubble is at a given distance. And so they would point to Mega Centauri, sort of calibrate the telescope, and then turn it off to somewhere else to look. But because they've done this 500 times, they actually
have a data set.
Really great data on the star motion
Amazing.
of Omega Centauri. So they looked for high-speed stars that could indicate that there was a large gravitational mass around which they were orbiting. And sure enough, they found not just one or two, but several that matched this.
That's awesome.
This expected velocities. So, seven high-speed stars in all were pinpointed. It also narrowed down the location of just where the central region is. This galactic time capsule sits at about 18,000 light years from us, and is now the closest example of a mid-range massive black hole that we are aware of. The supermassive black hole in the center of the Milky Way is 27,000 light years away versus 18,000 light years away. It's just to give you perspective. If you're trying to figure out how far things were, It's
Always need perspective like
if you
that
got
long way.
to as far away as that is, you have to go another 9,000 light years to get to the. Just to for those who are good at mental mapping, light years in terms of distance.
It's a
Anyway.
long way.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's an interesting find because it's hypothesized, and then we happen to have captured and created a sort of a time capsule where we captured another small primitive galaxy in our Milky Way, and in such a way that it has prevented it from progressing.
I think also the big thing is being able to find this intermediate sized black hole, which is it's one of those weird things, right? Where we don't have a lot of those. We have big ones, we're finding small ones, but like there's this intermediate category. It's like, oh, we think there are lots of them, but okay. And now we found one. But it wasn't found because of, our gravitational wave detectors where they're detecting the merging of these things, right? It's
right,
on
because
its
nothing
own.
is merging. Nothing's
merging.
Yeah.
It's cool. Time capsules, I like it.
And I guess I don't know how much gravitational lensing you can even capture from a small, what would be considered a smallish black hole. They're calling it massive because it's big, but
it's not
when you
super
have
massive.
other ones out there that are in the millions and billions of solar masses, then you're really getting gravitational lensing events that will even allow you to use them as a lens of your telescope to look beyond the black hole into the background.
I mean, when we're talking about black holes, it's like you have microscopic black holes, you have normal black holes, and then you have
the stellar
black holes, and then you have like
it's a
little bit bigger black holes, and then massive black holes, and then supermassive black holes. I mean, physicists, astrophysicists, with their terminology defining these things, they've kind of stuck themselves with certain categories. Massive, supermassive, whatever.
Anyway. But at least they're using the words that mean the things that they mean. Like,
it's true.
Like biologists are still like always stuck. Like, we're going to use like a language nobody else uses. We'll use Latin to name everything, and so then
Latin actually makes sense. Latin is like, okay, this is a language that everybody agrees on. It's the basis for like all of the Latin language. Latin languages, that's where it came. Like, let's use Latin for the scientific stuff. Let's make all of astrophysics use Latin so that it's a constant with biology. Shouldn't everything be in Latin? Let's do it.
No, nothing should be in Latin anymore. Nothing. Absolutely nothing should be in Latin anymore.
Why do you want to keep Latin dead? I don't understand this.
Because nobody uses it. Like if you
we use it all the time in roots of words. It's the basis for so much.
Right now, it just
we need something that works, that everyone agrees on, as opposed to like, oh, we're gonna say massive or like supermassive or whatever. Yeah.
But that's saying what the thing is. And that's all that Latin did. Latin just said what the thing was in Latin. But nobody knows Latin, so when they see the Latin, they don't know what they're starting.
But it's agreed upon.
You use
let's just do all Latin.
The common language, common international language of
Esperanto?
No, somebody tried that. They're like, hey, let's make the language of this other language that everybody will have to learn. No, nobody did that.
Okay.
Fail.
Okay. No
There's
Latin.
like 3 people out there going, but I learned it and it's very useful to talk to those 2 other people. We know.
So useful. It is. I know. Okay, everybody. If you're not doing your Latin studies right now, maybe you're doing some prime editing.
Eric Knapp. Yeah, biology doesn't use Latin. It uses Latin like a phony language. Yeah, that's true. Wait, what were you saying? Prime editing?
Yes, I was trying to make a segue for you.
So I don't know if anybody out there has ever heard of cystic fibrosis.
Yes.
But it is the most common, if not one of the most common, if not the most common genetic disorder. It causes a buildup of mucus in the lungs and other parts of the body, breathing problems, infection. Now there's a 3-drug cocktail known as Trikafta that's greatly improved patient quality life since its development in 2019. But this has negative side effects. It can cause cataracts, liver damage. And price tag is steep.
A lot. Yeah, right.
$300,000 a year-ish. Like, I'm sorry. I feel like that could be made cheaper. That doesn't seem like it has to be. Researchers at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard and the University of Iowa have developed a gene editing approach that efficiently corrects the most common mutation that causes cystic fibrosis, the one that is found in 85% of patients.
What?
With further development, it could pave the way to open a door to a path to things that could have be administered with less side effects. So,
how does it work?
This is prime editing, which is making insertions and deletions and substitutions of genes in vivo, meaning the person it's not like we're going to engineer a future generation. It's gene therapy. We're going to introduce this.
Fix it now.
To a living creature. Find that specific part of DNA where the problem is occurring, cut it out, and replace it with the healthy, functional version. They've been trying out this in all sorts of different pathways for using this, or different applications of this have been being worked on. But so they did a study on mice, and the combination of the refinements that they've been doing to prime editing corrected about 60% of the deletions in human lung cells and about 25% in cells taken directly from patient lungs and grown in a dish, which is an increase to the previous method that corrected less than 1% of the mutations. So that's 600 time or 60 time improvement, but percentage-wise it becomes like. Anyway, the new approach also generated 3.5 times fewer unwanted insertion and deletions per edit than previous methods that use just Cas9.
That's good. Like that's one of the issues is errors, right? We want to have methods that have fewer errors. Yeah. So
higher effectiveness, lower negative results, and we are one step closer. And when we talk about prime editing too, like the thing is, like, this isn't like developing a drug that will cure one disease.
This method could be used.
Is a platform, a method and technique that once it is perfected, then we're talking about any genetic-based disease. Any disease.
We say any, but I mean, you have to, in all of these, be very careful about off-target effects. Like you were just saying, you have to have a reduced number of off-target effects. You also want to make sure that these are genes that are like single nucleotide polymorphisms, or they are not the result of like multiple genes acting together, right? So you need to know how the system works to make sure you're not breaking anything worse in the first place. But if the system works and it's better than the standard CRISPR, then this is going to be super powerful, right?
Yeah. And there's a few techniques that are in development currently. But that thing that we've been, when we look at all the wonders of the pharmaceutical industry and being able to combat disease, This goes back a level for the genetically, or most diseases have some form of genetic origin to them as well. I mean, it's not just
right. It doesn't occur in a vacuum.
Yeah, there's a susceptibility to
Yeah.
a certain disease, or a way that, sometimes there are the diseases that affect people in different ways, and that can have a genetic, the severity of a disease that you have can be different, and that can be genetic based. So this is really getting to that point where we can push back against nature and the genomic makings of a human being that makes them vulnerable to the disease.
So you're excited about this step towards being on a path towards a solution towards.
Well, and partly because every time we've talked about drug development in terms of this new discovery opens a door to a pathway to where they might find a buried treasure chest where there could be a key to unlock a door to get us to a potential cure for a specific disease.
Yeah.
That's one disease with a lot of future steps. With the prime editing and the gene therapy techniques that are getting built, they are at the end of their path is most, if not all, human genetic based diseases. And then you're talking about you can even go a little bit beyond that, and then start to think, this is also the longevity. This is the fountain of youth. Going beyond that, which is like, if there are genetic changes as you age, what if you could replace those things that are not taking care of your cellular mechanisms, your mitochondrial replacements, your whatever machinery begins to break down. We'll have a genetic basis. We'll have a protein that's not doing work anymore, or not being created anymore, or is being overproduced. Being able to hack into that system is immortality, let alone disease prevention. So this is, to me,
immortality. That's taking it far. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, the big thing is not having multiple drug cocktails that have to be taken every single day, but possibly, like you said, gene therapy, that the genes get fixed, right? It's a treatment that you go in once, maybe twice, and then your body's making the right proteins so that you don't have the lung issues. You might get malaria, but no.
Yeah, I mean, you can get all those
Oh boy.
But genetic immortality is when you look at the things that gene editing can do.
Yeah.
If we can perfect it, genetic immortality is part of that.
Do I want that? I don't know. Aging.
What do you mean? Oh, look at you. Are you already jumping on the anti gene editing bandwagon?
No.
Nature gave
I
me
want
these genes,
I
and
want
to stick with
gene
them
editing
forever.
cream that I just rub on my face and it gets rid of wrinkles, and the gene editing cream, you rub it on and it gets absorbed with the hyaluronic acid, and it gets rid of the cancer. And this is what we want. Yeah.
This is
We want
exactly
something
what gene
easy.
editing
That's what we
is
want.
on a pathway to finding a buried treasure with a key to unlock a door to a road.
Yeah. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Along that yellow brick road, though, a lot of it isn't necessarily disease that we have. It's disease that's caused by other little organisms, like bacteria, like Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
Who?
Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
What?
It's a bacterium.
Oh.
It's a really, really dangerous bacteria because it likes to become antibiotic and multi-drug resistant. Yeah, so Pseudomonas aeruginosa is particularly involved. Over 500,000 deaths, 300,000 related to antimicrobial resistance every year. A lot of these are COPD, cystic fibrosis, non-cystic fibrosis, bronchiectasis. I cannot read some words today. But yeah, diseases of the lung, people who have genetic predispositions for diseases of the lung or other factors that have led to a deleterious development of the lung are possibly more likely to be susceptible to P. aeruginosa, but Pseudomonas, oh, it's great. Yes. No, it's awful. Why does it get all of its resistance? Where does it come from? Why is it so dangerous to humanity? Well, we inhale it, we get it in our mouths, likes to get into our lungs, and then we have pneumonia. We get bacterial pneumonia from this lovely little bacterium. So it was just an environmental organism, became a specialized human pathogen that we call specialized as a human pathogen. This particular group of researchers at the University of Cambridge looked at 10,000 samples, or around 10,000 samples, taken from infected individuals, animals, and various environments around the globe. And they published this in Science this week, created phylogenetic family trees of the bacteria to see how all of these different samples and the individuals that they found in them were related to each other. 7 in 10 infections are caused by 21 genetic clones or branches within this Pseudomonas aeruginosa family tree. And guess how they evolved, Justin?
How?
They swapped genes. They went to family reunions and they were like, shirt, I'll take it. I don't know. Anyway, they started swapping their genes back and forth. Yay, people living close together in squalid conditions, especially over like the last 200 years. It's really great. Pollution.
What are you talking? Why is it going to be the squalid conditions?
Well,
why can't it be the fancy dinner parties where everybody showed up and swapped it? Huh?
Well, maybe, but it's most likely in areas that have lots and lots of terrible air pollution, where there's lots of traffic, where there's lots of industry, where we're not cleaning the air as much. So usually the fancy dinner parties are not happening in those places. And they have nice HVACs these days. But in the last 200 years, there's a lot going on. Anyway, the researchers determined that these bacteria get into individuals. They prefer those with cystic fibrosis. Some of these 21 clones are like, yeah, cystic fibrosis, that's where I want to be, because there is actually a defect in the macrophages of the people with cystic fibrosis that allows the bacteria to survive within the macrophages themselves. So the macrophages go, I don't like you, I'm immune system, I'm going to eat you. And instead of eating them and destroying the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, the Pseudomonas aeruginosa goes, I have a new home. So the macrophages cannot get rid of it, the bacteria, and then infect the lungs. And they do really great there. They've gotten all sorts of specialized mutations that allow them to thrive within the lungs of people who have cystic fibrosis and other lung diseases.
Kind of got to admire.
Yeah, you gotta admire it.
the
So that, but they're really excited. Researchers are excited about the research because they've determined that, okay, it's not all the Pseudomonas aeruginosa subspecies that are across the board bad. There are specific mutations that have evolved in particular groups, which makes sense, right? They've become specialized to the diseased lung environment. And they have determined that it's this the infection that spreads between cystic fibrosis patients and those that have COPD and others, that the spread between patients that have similar starting diseases is is an issue that hospitals need to consider for infection control, and to hopefully maintain the rate of resistance evolution and to decrease it. So they're saying now at their hospital, the Royal Papworth Hospital, they have single rooms, and they have developed and evaluated a new air handling system to reduce the amount of airborne bacteria and protect patients. And this is really important so that you don't have the bacteria just spreading between all the patients in a respiratory ward, for instance.
Seems like a good plan anytime.
Sounds like a great plan anytime, especially with patients who are already coming in at a negative. Yeah. But anyway, this research is good, could give us further directions, because now we know these little groups of bacteria, these little families of the Pseudomonas to focus on, and the mutations that they have versus mutations that other species have. Do you want to tell us about all sorts of cool archaeological stuff?
I've got a couple of stories along that front, actually.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's knock these stories out. Choo-choo.
So, if you recall, in the 14th century in Europe, there was a plague, also called the Black Death, as it killed a lot of people.
And people were sad, so it was...
Bring out your dead!
That's
all this. Yes. Now, ancient DNA from bones and teeth is hinting at the role of the plague in Stone Age population collapse. This is previous to the 14th century of Europe. Contrary to previous beliefs, the plague arrived in Scandinavia several thousand years earlier. Despite several theories suggesting otherwise, this plague might have caused an epidemic, according to new research from the University of Copenhagen. In collaboration with researchers from the University in Gothenburg in Sweden, researchers from the Globe Institute have analyzed DNA from ancient teeth and bones of 108 individuals who all died 5,000-ish years ago. The analysis shows that 18 of these individuals, approximately 17% of them, were infected with the plague when they died. Furthermore, the results suggest the youngest plague strain might have had epidemic potential. This means that the plague at the time may have been contributing factor to the population collapse in the end of the Neolithic, known as the Neolithic decline. This population bust causes large parts of farming populations in Scandinavia and northwestern Europe to disappear within just a few centuries.
Oh my.
Which has been somewhat of a mystery. Was it a climate event?
Totally climate change. No.
Was there some sort of social upheaval that took place? And if now it looks like if 17% of the people have the plague that you can find the remains from, that might have been a contributing factor. So, plague in Europe might be much, much, much older than previously thought.
And so this is plague. This is Yersinia pestis, right? So this is, when we talk about plague, aren't there multiple ideas as to the bubonic plague, like different, like what is a plague? Was it a bird flu?
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah.
So that's the amazing thing, is that they can actually kind of see what it was now, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, we don't have to guess what was the ancient plague. We can do. They used deep shotgun sequencing, which allowed researchers to extract highly detailed information from archaeological material. And even though that information contained within the DNA is heavily damaged or degraded, finding this from the tooth and bone material allowed them to narrow down the cause of, well, the disease present at death. At the very least.
I think it's so cool. They've got this this image that's like it is a pedigree. It's like it's family trees based on their the data that they've got in the paper. So they've got the mitochondrial haplogroup, so how the mothers were related. They've got the plague strain and what was detected. They've got the osteological age, so that's based on the dentin or the bone, the radiocarbon dating of the bone, the radiocarbon date and how it was modeled, and then they were able to create an identity for an individual. So they're able to actually, from those individuals, then infer other individuals that would have been in the tree and put, to create a larger population. It's just really interesting. They've got these unrelated individuals, related individuals, and then these different plague strains. It's really cool work. It's like looking at your cat family tree, except it's, or like whatever you did in 6th grade for your family tree, except it's plague.
The plague family tree.
Wouldn't that be fun? Instead of just doing a regular family tree when you're like in 6th grade, your teacher's like, oh, that's fun. Your grandparents or whatever. No, we're going to do your plague family tree. Yeah. Maybe that wouldn't be fun. Teacher would probably get in trouble. Oh boy. Want to talk about more? Do you want to go back and forth? Do you want to finish up your archaeology?
And then the last one. Peru's, I guess, most famous archaeological site is the Citadel of Machu Picchu.
It's a pretty good one.
Built by the Incan Empire way, way back about 600 years ago in the 15th century. Now, they have discovered a temple that predates it by roughly 3,500 years. And what's sort of interesting...
600 and then 3,500 years. So we're talking, this is, 34 times?
Yeah, this is long before the
5
Incans.
times?
This is long before the predecessors of the Incans. This is before the predecessors to the predecessor of the Incans. It's before the Mochi and the Nazca cultures.
This is how many generations? 5 times 600 years, like 3,500 years. That's so many generations. Wow. Yeah.
I guess, so that's just, it's a cool find. It's a new temple, I guess they're calling it, that was found. But I thought was the part that I got most interested about is that they think this temple was built into the side of the mountain, and one section of it looked like a small theater, where it had a backstage area and like a stage-like platform. And of course, it says it could have been used for ritual performances.
Could have
in front
been.
of a selected audience. I don't know what the obsession with calling everything a ritual. Like early humans invented theater. We didn't.
I mean, that's basically what this is saying, right? It was a theater.
Well, yeah, they're kind of calling it a theater, but they were like, "What is a ritual event?" But not. Look, this is a stage with a backstage. Probably performers who knew the story could go and switch costumes real quick, right? Maybe there was a couple little bits of set dressing they would bring out. But you have to understand that before. Well, actually, the ancient Americans in South America had written word, but still, storytelling, theater is how humanity operated before television, before movies, before the written word and books. We did storytelling. We still do.
Long before Punch and Judy.
Yeah, the ancient Greek theaters, the ancient this theater, like the spoken word stories around fireplaces and even in the caves and the rock art is the little illustration of storytelling. We found the storytelling of the Three Little Pigs story on 40,000-year-old.
We have so in Western culture, we have dinner time, right? We have 3 meals a day for a lot of people, not you, not me all the time. But you have dinner time, right? It's supposed to be like a cultural evening ritual, right? And anthropologists would probably say it is a human ritual to have this evening meal, right? But you have dinner. So do archaeologists going back and in the future coming back to houses and finding dinner tables or finding these places where our TV altars are created? Is there like the TV
They
ritual?
would pay homage to splat screens from their worship ritual couches.
Yeah, but I'm gonna push back a little bit against the ritual word, though, that how you're fighting it and seeing it. It's ritual in that, is it a religious ritual, or is it a ritual in that it is a culturally continued, a culturally transmitted or common thing? So, going to a play every year, the Nutcracker is a ritual event for some people. Our holidays are rituals. That's more religious usually, but sometimes it has to do with more, like Memorial Day for Veterans Day for veterans. Eric Knapp is saying, sometimes I think ritual means we don't know. And so there is that, but something that is a stereotyped and repeated event. And is that enough for, ritual?
Yeah.
So just thinking of it in a language kind of sense.
Yeah.
And does the word ritual come from Latin?
So,
I don't know. Anyway.
So, like, also this is it's often who is giving you the information about a culture that they aren't part of that is going to determine how it's being delivered to you. This dates back to what is the initial period of Peruvian culture, which is roughly 4,000 years ago. Despite the fact that people inhabited Peru for at least 15,000 years. So there's also, right, and calling things ritual or putting a spiritual context to it, or even a routine context. I think this is for a selected group of people. What is a selected group of people when they're telling you a selected group of people were allowed to? Well, are you talking about the capacity of the audience? What if they did 4 shows a day?
Right. People who bought tickets, or the people who were invited.
6 on Saturday. Or people, they had a line of people coming in and out of
Your
there.
dinner
Are they
guests.
still a selected group? Like, you don't know. Stop it.
Yeah.
So ignoring all the context there, it is fun to say. Like, the other thing, it could be like if you've ever seen a White House press room briefing. It could be that part of the West Wing or whatever it is where they come out and they're like, okay, so today we're just going to let you know, we think the weather's going to be like this. We think the crops are going to be like that. We have 2% unemployment in our community, and it's that fellow over there, but he's got a broken leg, so he's not going to work. So that, like, it could be some sort of like officiating, updating thing too. For we don't know if it was theater, but the fact that it has that nice backstage, it's built like you would expect a theater to be built. Although I think also
it could also be a camping site, a rest stop, bathroom.
No, but if you look at the way churches, even modern day, are designed, it could be a religious thing too, because they always have a background. It's like, I'm going to go out there and talk about the God thing. I got to put the robe thing on, and you get there. Everybody ready with the smoke and the mirrors, and it's all Oz behind the curtain anyway, right?
But in
So-
this case, it's behind the big stone with the bird figure on it.
which is they call a mythical bird figure.
Mythical bird. It's a bird figure.
Yeah,
Well-
I don't know why everything has to be, again, mythical and ritual. I
had a
feel like it's
story.
applied to South American ancient culture more so than it gets applied other
No.
places.
No, I mean all the Scandinavian Norse stuff. That's all like
Ritualistic
mythical,
tools.
ritual,
They're
yeah.
ritualistic boats that they use to ritualistically raid, like, stop. You don't hear it. So I think there's a connotation there. I could be wrong, but
I mean, Stonehenge, everyone is convinced that's ritual, right? It's for some ritual, right?
there
Whatever.
were rituals that were
There were
performed there
at
by
the
people
place.
that showed
But
up
it was a
thousands of
gathering
years
spot.
after it was built, but we
Right.
don't.
It was the
Who
old
invented-
school rave location. That's what-
Yeah,
And this was, where the circus happened in, I don't
Yeah.
know, in Peru. No,
Yeah.
no, this isn't Peru. Where is
Could be.
this? Mexico. Machu Picchu? No.
Peru.
Where's Peru, yes. In Peru.
Where's where I have ancient ancestors.
Ukupe. You do?
I have a
Peru?
over the
That's
Ice
cool.
Maiden, who's as one of the mitochondrial DNA that I have, and she got sacrificed on a mountain, which I think is why we left.
That's right. We gotta go back to Italy.
Yeah.
Come
I think
on.
That's why that's a different. There's more
Different
that I
side
have
of the
multiple.
family. And you do
But
have
it's-
multiple ancestors?
I have multiple ancestors,
multiple lineages? Wait, what?
but it's an unbroken chain of mothers that I share with
That's
this
really cool.
Peruvian mummy. Ice Maiden.
Oh, I needed like a, I don't know, a Scandinavian mummy. I want that.
Huh?
Anyway, I want to find my Neanderthal ancestors.
Do you have a mitochondrial
haplotype? I do somewhere. I gotta go look at it.
Go look at it, figure out where it's from. But it's tough. It's tough to get the good ones because it's got to be an unbroken chain all the way back. And it's it's really hard. You have to get in line early.
John Hogan says, "I think I'm related to Lucy." I think maybe we all are. Who knows?
Maybe
Maybe.
that would be a very specific
Haplotype.
early human.
Yeah. That was
I think you have a high. The further back you go, I think the higher your probability
yeah, it is.
of being related.
Fewer individuals, higher probability. Yes, the
Yeah.
probability increases of us all being related the further back we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of evolution and how we all evolve and how we change through time, there is one question that vexes those who study morphology. Vexing the morphologists who study brains. Why do some animals have bigger brains than others? And there is a relationship that has been very, very specifically delineated that pretty much it's like larger organism, bigger brains. Elephants have big brains. People have big brains, but people seem to be off the charts in terms of brain volume, mass per body size. We've got some stuff going on. So humans,
I have a
we
I have
don't
a
follow the
favorite
trend,
explanation
right?
of that.
Yeah,
I have
you
a
do.
favorite explanation of that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come up. Oh, you want to do it? You want to give your explanation
I can do it
now?
now. I was going to
before
do it
go?
later, but I can do it now. It was one that we covered a long, long time ago. But there is a trackable sort of increase in brain size in humans with the increase of the opening at the base of the skull, which also fits with an increase in human running activities. So the idea behind this is that with our big fleshy feet that weren't really designed for being on the ground, like any other creature that really does a lot of running, for the most part, doesn't have fleshy feet. It's like us and elephants, I think. I don't know who else is out there. Now we have pads. They got
Fleshy feet.
padded
So you're
claws
saying fleshy feet have to do with brain
but our
size.
big fleshy feet that were designed for being in trees, with all the running created, there's blood that is collected there. And with all the running, there's micro pumping taking place, which is pushing little micro boop, boop, boop. Every time that we took a running step,
I
we
think
get
this
this
is a
run.
hypothesis that could be
No, it's a
tested.
hypothesis, and it's
Yes.
it's been looked at, but it's my favorite explanation. And as a bipedal with fleshy feet and running, we were micro pumping blood to the brain every time we were going on these runs. And so by forcing blood to the brain over and over and over again, there's more blood flow there. And also the veins were starting to get bigger, and the base of the skull was opening bigger to allow the blood flow to go through. And so anyway, that's my favorite
That's your
explanation of
explanation.
why the humans started off that trajectory of
Well, I would love to see how that ties in with the study that these researchers from the University of Reading in the UK have just published in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. This study, they put the original kind of math to the test, which is that brain and body size are related by a power law. Y equals bx to the a power, where y is the brain mass, b is the body mass, x is the intercept, and a is the allometric coefficient. So this is a logarithmic relationship as well that linearizes the relationship between brain and body mass. Ooh, math. Oh, algorithms. That's awesome. Anyway, it's a scaling law that leads to a relationship that pretty much as the metabolic costs of the brain increase, we have a resulting change in the size. So there's a lot of work that has found this relationship to be true, and these researchers were like, hey, why don't we really look a little bit more deeply at this and give it a really meaningful measure of relative brain size? So the take different heterogeneity of species into account. So they're re-asking the fundamental question here, and they say it here in their paper. Is the assumption of log linearity correct? So going back to that algorithm again. And if not, what are the consequences for understanding brain size evolution? So they've tested this over again. And in their testing, they came up with actually new relationships. They found that it's not specific. It's not a specific relationship from bottom to top, from small animal to big animal, that this relationship is actually more curvilinear. So there are different groups of animals that kind of group together to put together this log linear relationship that was assumed throughout history. So this relationship across mammals suggests that there are relationships which could map into what you're suggesting. So primates are off the scale, as are cetaceans. So there are different organisms that don't fall into the linear relationship in the way that had been suggested historically, which is pretty interesting. And so how does this have to do with the evolution or the co-evolutionary dynamics of brain and body size? And so the relative rates of brain mass to evolution, we have diprotodontia, which actually, based on how big elephants are, they should have a bigger brain to how big they are. So they don't fall into it in the relationship in the same exact way. But primates and the cetaceans, we're kind of off. We're in a different category.
Oh, I thought they were because
Why wouldn't?
look how high they look up on the.
Yeah.
They're being pointed out on that chart anyway. So maybe I can't read this.
Yeah. So so there's this curved relationship. Humans have larger brains to body size. There are bats that have different species of bats have brain change sizes related to the evolutionary pressure that the different species in different ecosystems have been under. And they also found that these bigger brain sizes are more related to intelligence, sociality, and behavioral complexity. So elephants Yes, they have very large brain sizes, but actually they should have bigger brains based
Huh.
on the size of their bodies.
Surprise.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, there's a curvature that's similar, this curvilinear relationship that's similar to birds as well, but it's not exactly the same as the mammalian species that they were comparing. So anyway, there is a mystery that is now apparent. There's also something that keeps brains from getting too big. There's a brain size ceiling, and that is what has been suggested by the data from the elephants. Their brains are big, but they should be bigger based on the relationship. So is it that the brains get too costly to maintain? We don't know.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you've got to have the energy supply for it and the blood flow to it.
Yeah.
And which is the same. So, I mean, if we can get to a point where we are nourishing brains with more blood flow and plenty of energy, brains should continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
But they don't.
However,
they stop. They hit a plateau and they start to
The hypothesis that I've subscribed to is correct. Humanity will now be getting smaller and smaller brains because who's really running that much anymore?
Right. So the question, though, I want to ask of your hypothesis, the running, the pads of the feet, what about cetaceans? Is it that they are, I mean, cetaceans have big brains?
Yeah. Well, okay. So they are constantly running, moving in their environment, and the articulation of the skull to the spine and the heart and everything may have allowed greater blood flow.
Yeah, I don't know. Is this a just so explanation? That's what I.
It might be. It totally is. But I would actually like to see that relationship between brain size and opening at back of skull where blood flow can make it through. Like that would be that would
how
be
much blood
interesting
can get to
see.
the brain. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
I think that's an interesting question. Yeah.
How well can you feed it, regardless of just based on your design?
Because design is inherently going to constrain the function.
Yeah.
Form determines function, and vice versa, which is fascinating. Anyway, brain size. Bigger animals do have bigger brains. That is still the case, but it is not the same log linear relationship that had been hypothesized historically. And in fact, who knew? There's more nuance than we had determined previously. Dun, dun, dun. And what I think is interesting is the diversity of bats. I think that in itself, again, is interesting to look at.
At 900 beats per minute or whatever, you would expect it. They're moving that blood supply all over the body. I'm surprised they're not brilliant.
They should be the smartest animals on the planet. Yeah. They're constrained by size as well. But sometimes when your brains...
I mean, if your brain gets too big, your skull gets too big, it's too tough to carry around. You can't do your bat flying stuff or your animal foraging or whatever it is. Then.
One last study to throw in here really fast at the end of the show is that... Oh, I already talked about the bacteria. So let's talk I was going to say that sometimes your brain gets broken, right? And we have issues repairing our brains. So stroke or other tumors, other issues that can result in brain damage. How do we fix that? We can't get the prime editors into the brain yet. What can we do? Well, this study is not actually fixing it yet. This is a step on a path that's very, very, very far down the stairs and maybe is down the hallway as well. But this study, I think, is very interesting because when you have damaged neurons, there are populations of cells around the neurons known as glial cells. They are aging, they're dividing, they're growing up in concert with the neurons themselves. It's thought that a lot of these glial cells are involved in short distance messaging and activation of other neurons and other glial cells. There's a whole communication network in there, but they do a lot of support work for the neurons themselves. And when the neurons die for any reason, sometimes the glial cells are still around. And if the neurons, say like in Parkinson's disease, are damaged and dying, how can we possibly, without, I don't know, putting new neurons themselves in the brain, like get neurons in there to be fixed? Well, these researchers studying mouse neurons in a dish, still not human neurons, we're looking at dishes full of glial cells and neurons, and they found that they could, because these neurons, and the glial cells, they're all in the same environment. The glial cells just got slightly different instructions on who they were supposed to be, and the researchers determined that there is a transcription factor called neurogenin 2 that, when activated, can reprogram these glial cells to be neurons. They're like, yeah, I want to be a neuron now. And they will grow to be a neuron. But you need to activate them and open up the chromosomes, the chromatin, with another factor called yin yang 2. So you got to have, or no, yin yang 1. You have to have
I was
yin
going to
yang
say
1.
yin yang 2 is a whole, like, wow, that's really.
Exactly. I know. So you got
That's
to have
really
yin
overkill.
yang 1, open up the chromatin. And then once you have yin yang 1 opening the chromatin, that the glial cells can be activated by neurogenin 2 to become neurons. So in cell culture, they were able to invoke this chain. These are researchers at Helmholtz, Munich, in the Synergy Cluster of Excellence, and the Helmholtz Pioneer Campus, and LMU in Germany. And so this is really similar to the PRIME work you're talking about. This is work that involves small chemical modifications on the epigenome. So how do you go in, tell the cell, basically, you know what to do. Just open on up. I'm going to tickle you right here. The chromatin opens up and then is able to be accessed at a specific time if the right instructions are there to actually lead a change in conformation from a support cell, from a short distance transmitting cell to a neuron, to replace neurons that are already in the brain. And by focusing on these small molecule modifications, maybe we don't have to worry about getting big molecules into the brain, and then we can send things very specifically certain spots in the brain for therapies. Maybe, just maybe, we're going to send you a little yin yang while you sleep. Fix your brain right up. That's right. Yin yang.
I need my brain be fixed.
Make it go.
All the way up.
Yes. That's all I have for the show tonight. Have we done it?
I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah? Did you have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, because you get busy in life, you start figuring. I didn't realize the astronauts were still up there.
Okay, so I was looking, but yes, they are still up there. As of today, they had their first press conference from the space station, which I think is a big step, which means that the corporations are ready to allow people to say things publicly, or maybe they've gone through enough media training by now to say the right messages. But the astronauts are very confident that they will be able to come home soon.
The astronauts
yes, the astronauts are now, this is the AP News, who have reported that the astronauts who should have been back on Earth some time ago, they just had a press conference, and this is the first news conference from orbit. They said they'd expect to return once the thruster testing is complete here on Earth. They're enjoying this being on the station, and they are confident that it'll bring the spacecraft, Starliner, will bring them home, no problem.
Yeah, but what are they else going to say? Or think, or how do you commit?
This is
Justin and Kiki.
I think
Justin
I'm
and
gonna
Kiki,
die.
you are now trapped on a space station with a defective capsule that is your only means of getting back to Earth. What do you think the chances are of you getting back to Earth? Kiki, what would you say? Very confident. Oh,
Well,
Mr.
I
Justin.
am going to say that I really have to be confident so that stockholders do not lose confidence in the company they have invested in, and they really should not be not confident in the this craft. And everyone is confident that the ability of all of these technologies and the work everyone has done to get us to this point will get us home again confidently.
And Kiki, I think it said everything that I would say, except that I would just point out that I don't want to set the expectations too high. I think if we lower the expectations a little, I mean, I'm confident that we're going to try. Confidence of success level
Confident
is
we're going to try.
thus far. I
something.
haven't seen anything to suggest that there won't be an additional problem on the way home. So my confidence level in terms of success, very low. But then I'm also then setting the expectation for success very low. So I think we'll make it at least halfway back to the Earth before we see any. I think the re-entry part is the part that I'm the least confident about. Like they have no choice at that point. You have to be fearless.
The astronauts, they don't, there is no choice for them. I mean, anything they said would not, it's not great for anyone.
Yeah.
And there are going to be other solutions. It's not the only way to get them home, but it is the only, Starliner has to get them home for Starliner to continue to be an option for future missions. So that is a very important thing.
And it's the thrusters. It's the little adjustments. And that's I think the problem is it's so key to maybe the angle of reentry.
And making sure there's no wobble, making sure there's no roll, making sure that, so that they can get back into the atmosphere and not burn up and not crash. Yeah, the thrusters are very important. Yeah, very important. They cannot thruster issues. Yeah.
All the hopes, intentions, thoughts with the astronauts, hoping that
I mean,
get it all sorted and the astronauts make it safely back to the Earth. And then, honestly,
it's something they
think about it.
Yeah,
next
there will
time
be other solutions
before you leave.
Yeah.
Do I really want to be in orbit around the planet, or do I want to be in my garden tending to my vegetables? Where is the better place to be at any given point?
And along with this, we know that the SLS recently was supposedly money was being taken away from the SLS, NASA's big rocket plan to get to Mars and all this stuff. Well, apparently Congress wants to revisit the funding of the SLS and recertify this. The boondoggle that never ends, everyone. It's fantastic. Space is great. We're going to do great. And NASA is not being commercialized and taken over by contracts. And they're not getting rid of all the R&D and the great people at NASA's. Their project, their 2030 plan is going to be a disaster. It's a disaster for NASA. But anyway, that's my opinion.
The argument that has been being made, if we just privatize it, government can't do anything. If we just privatize everything, it'll be fine. But it turns out it's just people all the way through, and regardless.
But really, they're outsourcing everything. Everything. It's sad. I'm sad. I'm worried about NASA in the next 10, 15 years. I'm very worried. Well, actually, it's not even that long.
5 years. Whatever.
Yeah, about 5 years.
Everything.
I mean, I just hope they get all the astronauts back from the space station before they decide to decommission it. I mean, that would be really a great plan.
Oh, you're dark. You're just not so dark.
I have humor.
Run. It's a risky run.
I'm wearing a skeleton with a top hat and what is the big handlebar mustache on my shirt today. So it goes with my humor, I think. I do
Is
go
that the
dark sometimes.
mascot of Portland?
Everybody's gonna make what?
Is that the Portland mascot?
Yeah, it is. No.
Top hat
Portland
is skull
pickles.
with a handlebar mustache. That sounds so Portland. Like
It does kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll wear it when I go get my next tattoo.
maybe
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, we do hope that these astronauts do get home on Starliner very soon, and that they are back safely, and that all of our space projects go forward with more safety in mind. That, safety considering all of the things that can go wrong, but that they aren't pushed forward for political or capital gains. That's what I think. But that's who listens to me? I don't know. Yay, vive la France! John Hogan said France just sent a rocket into space successfully. Woot woot.
Wait.
They need something to come back after. Do they have wait, not the Ariane? Does France? I have to look that up now. Now I'm just chatting and we haven't even finished this show. Okay. Oh yeah, Europe's Ariane 6 rocket. So it's the next. I thought they were done with that for a while. I thought France wasn't going to have anything new for a while. Anyway.
After 4 years of delays.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of delays, ITER, Europe's big fusion machine, the tokamak fusion machine that they're trying to create, it's built, but it's going to be delayed by another 15 years. No.
Also, by the way, the
That's
Ariane
not great.
6 is, according to this, upper stage failed to raise its altitude due to the failure of an auxiliary propulsion unit, which is used to repressurize the tanks and allow the engine to fire to 4 times. As a result, the rocket's engine failed to reignite a 3rd time, preventing the upper stage from performing its deorbit burn. The rocket was supposed to fall back towards Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean to prevent it from cluttering Earth's orbit. Due to the anomaly, however,
more space garbage
still in orbit. Oops. But other than that, everything went fine.
It's great. And on that, everyone, we will end with a successful launch of the Ariane 6 and the successful addition of more space trash, and the successful survival of astronauts in space for a little longer. Vive la France! Vive l'Amérique! Vive tout le monde! Tout le monde. Oui. And I would like to go to Suriname. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So, in the meantime, while we tell ourselves stories, I would like to say thank you to everyone for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science. It's time for us to finish the show now. Oh my goodness, what? It is time to do this. I want to say thank you to everyone for helping with the show tonight. Identity 4, thank you for recording the show. Gord, Arnlore, for keeping our chat rooms happy, wonderful, kind places to be. Everyone who's in the chat rooms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Discord, thank you for being here, for talking, for having a great time, hopefully while we were discussing and talking with you about the stories that we thought were interesting this week. Fada, thank you so much for your help with show notes and with our social media. We couldn't do that without you. Oh my goodness, it's so much work that you do. And additionally, I want to say thank you to Rachel for editing the show. And of course, our Patreon sponsors. I must say thank you too. Yeah. Eden Mundell, Alan Viola, Aaron Anathema, Craig Potts, Mary Gertz, Teresa Smith, Richard Badge, Bob Coles, Quentin Northcote, George Koris, Pierre Velazar, John Ratnaswamy, Chris Wozniak, Vagard Chefstad, Donathan Styles, aka Don Stylo, Ali Coffin, Reagan Shubrew, Sarah Forfar, Don Mundus, PIG, Stephen Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Andrew Swanson, Fredos 104, Skyluke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Bearden, Noodles, Jack, Brian Carrington, David Youngblood, Sean Clarence Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenblow, Steve Leisman, aka Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Richard, Brendan Minish, Johnny Gridley, woohoo, Remy Day, G. Burton Lattimore, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, Greg Briggs, John Atwood, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, Lon Makes, EO, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul D. Disney, David Simmerly, Patrick Pecoraro, and Tony Steele. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. And if anyone out there would like to support us on Patreon as well, head over to twist.org and click on the Patreon link. I want to mispronounce your name at the end of a show as well. On next week's show,
we will be back for 2 shows. One Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, and the other Thursday, 5 a.m. Central European time.
Both shows at the same time.
Are they really? Both will be broadcasting live from our Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels.
Oh, yes, they will.
And if you want to listen to us as a podcast,
just keep reading.
Google This Week in Science in your whatever browser or wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoy the show, force your friends to subscribe to, whether they want to or not. For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes, links to stories will be available on our website, www.twist.org. And you can also sign up for Kiki's newsletter.
That's right. And we do love your feedback. And if there is a topic you want us to cover or address or a suggestion for an interview, please let us know on one of our social media accounts or send us an email. You can add twist to the subject line so it does not get spam filtered into a reprogrammed brain after it had been plagued with problems by going to too many old theaters in Peru.
Huh?
Either that or it was like absorbed into a very absorbent tampon. I don't know. Thrown away in the trash.
Your email will be absorbed into... Oh, no. We do look forward to discussing science with you again next week. If you've learned anything from the show, please remember,
it's all in your head. I'm scrolling down right now. I'm going to get into it. There it is. Click play.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've
got a plan. Oh yeah, even if you don't understand. Yeah. Woot woot. Yeah, you have more coffee? How's the coffee? You're muted. Just like I am most of the time.
I was gonna say
it's late.
We should okay. I was gonna say we should do singing at the end of the Acapulco singing at the end of every show. Singing. Yeah, if you stick around, we'll get Some
You
of
get out the
the
ukulele and
alpaca singing. What do you call it? Al Capone singing. What is it called?
I'm enjoying. I'm not gonna help here. I'm just enjoying this.
We're gonna sing Acapabana. What is it? Acapulco? What the heck is it? What's the word? When you sing with that, when there's not any music, you just try to sing in the harmony. Is it Al Pacino? That can't be right. No, it can't be Al Pacino singing.
Harmony.
Yeah. We'll look into it. We'll get back next week. Chupacabra singing? That can't be right. That's not it.
It's with coconuts. I like coconuts.
This
I like singing.
This is a nice show. This is a fun show.
Nice show.
Thank you everybody for sticking around with us through the thing. My goodness, we did a couple hours there of.
I told Marshall, I was like, Justin, he doesn't have to go to work right away, but Blair has to go. She's tired. So Marshall, it would probably be a short show. I'll be done. It'll be fine. I'll hang out with you.
Oh, nice.
Now I'm like, oh, are you in bed yet? I don't know. I'm hungry. I haven't had dinner yet. I found a new place today, thanks to this guy, Colin, who works with me at the Association of Science Communicators. Mm-hmm. Korean corn dogs. Oh my gosh. 2 Hands is the name of this chain. And I am so excited to try them. There's a place in Hillsborough, close to here. And I'm super excited. I'm going to go there and get corn dogs tomorrow.
Exciting.
They have veggie corn dogs. They also have corn dogs just filled with mozzarella cheese, which to me, I'm like, what? This is going to be amazing. Mind blowing. I want them all. Well, maybe I want little pieces of all of them. I want to have bites of all the corn dogs. And the Korean tater tots with spicy Cheetos dust. I am dying. This is going to be like, I don't know. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. Oh, you had the Korean corn dogs, Paul Disney? Yes, the potatoes ones. Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the first I've learned about them. I'm so excited. Yeah, they take potatoes and they smash them on the corn dogs and covered in sugar.
It sounds.
They also cover them with Rice Krispies and sugar.
Yeah, that sounds awful. Can I just say that sounds like not just like awful, like it theoretically is a thing you shouldn't eat.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
To me, that just sounds like awful. Like I wouldn't want it. I'd pass.
I mean, it's gonna be a veggie dog, so it's totally healthy. It's great.
No, you know what? Can I just? I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but most
processed food, bloop bloop blah blah.
Highly processed food, not just processed, highly processed. It's like unhealthy vegetarian food. Guess what's not unhealthy?
But sausage or hot dogs are worse for you than the veggie hot dogs, even though it's still bad for you. It's just levels of bad. It's like massive versus super massive bad.
I don't know that that's true because most of those studies have been studying people who should
use Latin.
Most of those studies have been studying people who've been eating processed meats for a long time, but the processed veggie burger stuff is relatively new. I don't know that there've been any long-term studies on these. What I will say is, you know what is healthy? Than all that thing that we were just talking about?
A carrot.
Vegetables.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
I was not talking about eating healthy food. I was talking about something I was excited about.
Give it a little bit of butter. It's all you need. You don't have to
Spicy Cheetos
do
dust.
all these weird
Oh,
things to your
it's gonna
food. I
be
don't
amazing.
understand it. There's a bizarre thing like in like the Danes. For all of the what used to be like really fine restaurants there or Michelin restaurants over here, I'm finding that the Danes have a very awkward interpretation of food. I had this thing that there was chips and avocado and a mix with some beans. You would think this is going to be like a guacamole type of thing.
No.
It was. I don't know what it was.
Disgusting.
It was not. I had avocado and chips and a dip looking thing, and it was terrible. Also,
No, it's not.
They will put.
You can't go to Denmark expecting guacamole.
No,
not
but
gonna
also
happen.
like they will put chili in anything because they don't understand. Like, what do other countries do? Oh, they put spice in it. What spice? They use chili, I guess. I don't know. Let's put chili in everything.
No.
It's like,
It has to be right. It has to be right. It has to be done right. You know what Identity 4 says is a vegetarian veggie dog? An all-natural veggie dog? A zucchini.
There you go.
There you go.
I would zucchini's fine. You got to cook it though. I would go with cucumber.
But-
You can just slice one up, put it in the middle of a sandwich. Perfect.
But that isn't a corn dog. I don't want a cucumber corn dog. I don't want a zucchini corn dog. I'm sorry. No. I also don't want a turkey corn dog, a chicken dog.
You already
corn
got
dog,
the dog
corn
out of
dog.
your. You're just eating corn at
tofu.
this point.
It's
aren't
tofu.
you?
It's like red dye number 5 and and tofu smooshed into a dog shape.
All right, your homework, if you should choose to accept it, is next week. Come back with the ingredient list of this Korean hot dog.
I will. I
Or
will.
Korean corn dog or
I
Korean
will.
veggie corn dog.
I don't even have. I bet I could find it right now. Do you want to go though? 2 hands. Oh, there it is. Because I've already searched for it. They have the menu. I wonder if they have.
They don't. They're not going to tell you. It's a restaurant.
Yeah, we'll just go with the traditional American. 450 calories for a corn dog. Looks amazing. It's OG State Fair styled corn-based batter, tender and juicy beef frank with added ketchup and mustard. That's what that is right there. It's a corn dog. And then you go to their menu and you can say like, all right, I don't want you to find my location. Kimchi fries. Oh my gosh, I want to eat them. Yeah, so we're gonna order. We're gonna pretend to order online. No. Okay, I'm not gonna order online. I can't find out anything about the corn dogs. Half mozzarella,
They're
half
not gonna tell you.
sausage filling.
They're not going to tell you.
100% plant-based sausage. That's what these say. It's 100% plant-based. Ooh, half cheddar and mozzarella. If I weren't totally lactose intolerant, that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't see other. 100% something. Everything is 100% something. Oh, I didn't add it to this. There's the stage. Gotta add it to the stage. Different corn dogs. I want a spicy corn dog. I want flaming hot Cheetos on my corn dogs. This sounds amazing.
None of that sounds the least bit appeasing. This sounds like a.
This is the state fair. This is state fair
this is
every
fair food,
day.
which is not meant to be eaten, but maybe once a year, only because there wasn't another option.
Ooh, green relish. That's good, but mustard. Mustard's good. Yeah, gourd, you just want the hot dogs. They're fine in the summertime. It's good, but corn dogs. Veggie dogs. It's so good. Do you only eat vegetables, Justin? Is that what you're telling me? You're so healthy.
That I just no. So no,
You're being so judgmental and healthy.
No, I'm a
special source.
Basic. I'm such a basic when it comes to the foodie world. I like a boiled potato with some salt on it.
But what about
Maybe a little bit of butter. If
baked
it happens to be
potato
somewhere else on the plate.
with some butter, but
Yeah.
then kimchi.
Yeah, no, you're already listening.
So good. Kimchi on a baked potato.
I like
With
boiled
yogurt.
chicken.
That's happy
with some
making. There we
Salt
go.
and pepper. I like
And-
rice with a little bit of soy sauce.
And spicy Cheetos dust.
And then, like, basically, I'll take any of the basic veggies. Some, hey, I like a cucumber that's been sliced up, put into a thing, or a
I
carrot.
like cucumbers. You know, it's delicious in the summertime. Sliced cucumber with
Mhm.
lime juice and just a little bit of like a hot sauce, whatever
Lost me.
hot sauce, whatever hot sauce you want.
Cucumber and hot sauce. Lost me.
Cucumber,
No.
lime, salt,
Nonsense.
tapatio, cucumber,
All
lime,
pretty
salt.
good up till you get the hot sauce, and I'm like,
No,
out.
hot sauce. No, it's
Out.
great. Summertime.
Oh,
it's
it's
the
terrible.
lime, the salt, the hot, and then your mouth's like, and then you forget that you're hot on the outside because the cucumber's cool, but it's spicy and your body's confused, and it's great.
I'll do the garlic with the cucumber.
No.
That combo all day long.
Watermelon.
That's what tahini is. That's what tahini. When you go, that's tahini. It's basically
Tahini is not just garlic. Tahini.
it's garlic. It's cucumber and sour cream. Basically,
That's not tahini. Tabbouleh.
tabbouleh. That's what I meant to say.
Wait, no, tabbouleh. No, tabbouleh.
No, it's not
isn't
tabbouleh. It's
cucumber.
tahini. I know what I'm talking about.
No, you don't. No.
Tajiki? Is it the
Nope.
tahiki?
Tzatziki.
Tahini.
Tzatziki. The yogurt sauce. The yogurt.
Hey, like I
the
said, not a
cucumber
foodie.
yogurt.
Not a foodie, but I like basic ingredients. You know what I like? I like a boiled egg or a fried egg. Actually, I boil a lot of food the more I'm thinking about it.
You are perfect in Denmark. Oh my
I
God,
like a
that is
simply
great.
cooked food.
I bet they just boil
No,
all
it's
sorts of
terrible here
food in
because
Denmark.
people here think they're foodies.
And then they boil cheese, and you're like,
and then they do
you
like
shouldn't
all
do that.
sorts of like, oh, we're gonna make pizza with a cracker but it's on a cracker and not an American pizza dough. It's like on a cracker, and then there's like corn on it, and then like chili peppers, and then like it's like, no, this is sometimes they have the ingredients. It's like they made for this restaurant that caters
I'm
to the
hungry.
workplace.
This is great.
They made this. It had like a Mexican dish, carne asada kind of a thing, with white rice and like pinto beans. And like, but right, like it's like sort of the list. Like if you Google translated,
When you grow
that
up in
list of
California,
ingredients.
I mean, you grow up in California, you cannot go eat Mexican food in New York City or Denmark. Just don't do it. There's not good. You can get good Cuban food in New York City. You are not going to get good Mexican food. Like, it's so hard to find. You can,
Where were we? We went someplace that had
do not eat
an
Mexican
authentic
food in New
Mexican
York.
restaurant. I think it was Philadelphia.
Yeah, no,
Was it Philadelphia or Baltimore or something? And it was like
that. I
That's
make better
interesting.
tacos at home on Tuesday
because
night.
near the border we can't find any of this food. What you've just served, like none of this. What you're doing here, that's somebody's non-foodie version of what they call real food. I mean, there's
pizza. Let me
I
tell
get
you
it.
my favorite pizza. It was from the Greek restaurant in Davis that was over on it in East Symposium. They had a deep dish.
Oh, they have got all kinds
with
of
a cornmeal crust that was it was Greek, so it was feta cheese and olives and sun-dried tomatoes and bell peppers. But they also there were hot peppers in it too. You could get it with chili, so it was very spicy, but you could also get it not spicy. But it was like this Greek-inspired deep dish pizza, and I swear it is one of the best pizzas. Anywhere.
You can still get it. Symposium is still there. Davis, California, if you're listening. Good. Unsolicited commercial for Symposium.
Love that pizza. I dream of the day I get to eat that pizza again.
Although I'm still a big Woodstocks.
Red
the other
bell pepper.
big
Yums and a
pizza place in
ton.
there. They've got
Woodstock pizza.
yeah,
Mm.
they've got some amazing pizza options there.
Christopher Popsky Gilroy says garlic bread, too much roasted ham, jalapenos, mustard cheese, air fryer. Bob's your uncle. Love it. I wouldn't do the ham, but maybe a sliced turkey, and then I would be. That sounds great. I love stuff like that. I like yums. Okay. Justin has to go. I have to go. I haven't eaten dinner, which is why I am talking about food right now.
Dinner.
No, it's
My goodness.
10:47 at night and I haven't eaten dinner. So I'm getting wackadoodle and starving. So I'm gonna go put food in my face. And hopefully it'll let me sleep all night. And then that'll be fantastic. And you have a wonderful week. Tiliana and your babies. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next one.
Yep, I'll be back.
Great. Good night, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. Christopher Popsky Gilroy, you're in the UK right now. Good morning, just like Justin. We'll see you around. Everybody, next week. In the meantime, stay healthy, stay happy, stay curious, and stay lucky.
Stay lucky.
Stay well
Always
fed.
be lucky.
Always be lucky and hopefully well fed, or maybe not if you don't want to be. I don't know, whatever.
Always be learning.
Always be learning.
Always be looking for something new to learn. Always be learning about things that you didn't know that you could go looking for.
Be curious. That's what I said. Be curious.